Hi, I'm Rashonda Cade. This is Reading with Rashonda. We are reading House Behind the Cedars by Charles Chesnutt. We are on Chapter 2, Part C. Whew, we should finish it today, though. Chapter 2C. I'll get started. Yes, sighed the mother. She's got good sense. She ain't as quick as you was and don't read as many books, but she's careful and painstaking and always tries to do what's right. She's been thinking about going away somewhere and trying to get a school to teach or something, since the Yankees have started them everywhere for po' white folks and niggers too. But I don't like for her to go too far. With such beauty and brains, continued Warwick, she could leave this town and make a place for herself. The place is already made. She has only to step into my carriage, after perhaps a little preparation, and ride up the hill which I have had to climb so painfully. It would be a great pleasure to me to see her at the top. But of course, if it is impossible, a mere idle dream, your claim comes first. Her duty chains her here. Ouch. Okay, so she needs a little preparation to get into his carriage to move on up to a deluxe apartment in the sky high. And her duty chains her? Oh, like slavery. It would be so lonely without her, murmured the mother weakly, and I love her so, my last one. No doubt, returned Warwick with a sympathetic sigh. Of course you love her. It's not to be thought of for a moment. It's a pity that she couldn't have a chance here, but how could she? I had thought she might marry a gentleman, but I dare say she'll do as well as the rest of her friends, as well as Mary B., for instance, who married Homer Pettifoot, did you say? Or maybe Billy Oxendine might do for her. As long as she has never known any better, she'll probably be as well satisfied as though she married a rich man and lived in a fine house and kept a carriage and servants and moved with the best in the land. Wow, he is painting quite the picture, isn't he? Since she'll never have these things, it'll be okay, except for I'm going to tell you all about them now and wet her whistle. The tortured mother could endure no more. The one thing she desired above all others was her daughter's happiness. Her own life had not been governed by the highest standards, but about her love for her beautiful daughter there was no taint of selfishness. The life her son had described had been to her always the ideal but unattainable life. Circumstances, some beyond her control, and others for which she was herself in a measure responsible, had put it forever and inconceivably beyond her reach. It had been conquered by her son. It beckoned to her daughter. The comparison of this free and noble life with the sordid existence of those around her broke down the last barrier of opposition. Oh, Lord, she moaned, what shall I do without her? It'll be lonely, John, so lonely. You'll have your home, Mother. You won't have anybody in it, but you'll have your home. You'll be fine. You'll have your home, Mother, said Warwick tenderly, accepting the implied surrender. You'll have your friends and relatives and the knowledge that your children are happy. I'll let you hear from us often, and no doubt you can see Rena now and then, but you must let her go, Mother. It would be a sin against her to refuse. Wow. Okay, I'll let you hear from us often. I will give you permission to talk to us, even though you're so lowly. And no doubt you can see Rena now and then. I doubt that. And it would be a sin against her to refuse? She may go, replied the mother brokenly. I'll not stand in her way. I've got sins enough to answer for already. Warwick watched her pityingly. He had stirred her feelings to unwanted depths, and his sympathy went out to her. If she had sinned, she had been more sinned against than sinning, and it was not his part to judge her. He had yielded to a sentimental weakness in deciding upon this trip to Patesville. A matter of business had brought him within a day's journey of the town, and an overmastering impulse had compelled him to seek the mother who had given him birth and the old town where he had spent the earlier years of his life. No one would have acknowledged sooner than he the folly of this visit. He's a man, Men who have elected to govern their lives by principles of abstract right and reason, which happen perhaps to be at variance with what society considers equally right and reasonable, should, for fear of complications, be careful about descending from the lofty heights of logic to the common level of impulse and affection. Many years before, Warwick, when a lad of 18, had shaken the dust of the town from his feet, and with it, he fondly thought, the blight of his inheritance. Wow, blight. and had achieved elsewhere a worthy career. But during all these years of absence, he had cherished a tender feeling for his mother, and now again found himself in her house amid the familiar surroundings of his childhood. His visit had brought joy to his mother's heart and was now to bring its shrouded companion sorrow. His mother had lived her life for good or ill. A wider door was opened to his sister. Her mother must not bar the entrance. She may go, the mother repeated sadly, drying her tears. I'll give her up for her good. The table's ready, Mama, said Rena, coming to the door. The lunch was spread in the kitchen, a large unplastered room at the rear with a wide fireplace at one end. Only yesterday, it seemed to Warwick, he had sprawled upon the hearth, turning sweet potatoes before the fire, or roasting ground peas in the ashes, or, more often, reading. By the light of a blazing pine knot or lump of resin, some volume from the bookcase in the hall. From Bulwer's novel, he had read the story of Warwick the Kingmaker, and upon leaving home had chosen it for his own. He was a new man, but he had the blood of an old race, and he would select for his own name one of its worthy names. Overhead loomed the same smoky beams, decorated with what might have been, from all appearances, the same bunches of dried herbs, the same strings of onions and red peppers. Over in the same corner stood the same spinning wheel, and through the open door of an adjoining room he saw the old loom where in childhood he had more than once thrown the shuttle. The kitchen was different from the stately dining room of the old colonial mansion where he now lived, but it was homelike and it was familiar. The sight of it moved his heart, and he felt for the moment a sort of a blind anger against the fate which made it necessary that he should visit the home of his childhood, if at all, like a thief in the night. But he realized after a moment that the thought was pure sentiment, and that one who had gained so much ought not to complain if he must give up a little. Giving up your whole family is more than giving up a little. He who would climb the heights of life must leave even the pleasant valleys behind. Rena, asked her mother, how'd you like to go and pay your brother John a visit? I guess I might spare you for a little while. The girl's eyes lighted up. She would not have gone if her mother had wished her to stay, but she would always have regarded this as the lost opportunity of her life. Are you sure you don't care, Mama? She asked, hoping and yet doubting. Oh, I'll manage to get along somehow or other. You can go and stay till you get homesick, and then John will let you come back home. But Miss Molly believed that she would never come back, except like her brother, under cover of the night. She must lose her daughter as well as her son, and this should be the penance for her sin, that her children must expiate as well the sins of their fathers, who had sinned so lightly after the manner of men, neither she nor they could foresee, since they could not read the future. I'm going to assume the sins that they're all talking about here is how Warwick and Rena were conceived and came into the world. We will probably find out more later. The next boat by which Warwick could take his sister away left early in the morning of the next day but one. He went back to his hotel with the understanding that the morrow should be devoted to getting Rena ready for her departure, and that Warwick would visit the household again the following evening. For, as has been intimated, there were several reasons why there should be no open relations between the fine gentleman at the hotel and the woman in the house behind the Cedars, who, while superior in blood and breeding to the people of the neighborhood in which they lived, were yet under the shadow of some cloud which clearly shut them out from the better society of the town. So basically he's saying, yeah, they really are better than everybody that they live by, but oh, they're still Black. Darn, they're better than everybody. Almost any resident could have given one or more of these reasons, of which any one would have been sufficient to most of them, and to some of them Warwick's mere presence in the town would have seemed a bold and daring thing. And thus ends chapter 2. So that's it for today. This is Reading with Rashonda, and I'm Rashonda Cade.